All right. Well, hello and welcome to today's session of the Bible study Hickory on this 9th day of October 2022. This is going to be our basic Hebrew portion of the afternoon. And then after this, we will hand it over to Brother Sheets, where we will be looking at God's design in family relationships. So when we met last week, we were talking about Hebrew nouns, and we saw that Hebrew nouns consist of basically three components when we're looking at the parsing of them. The gender, which is referring to the pattern of endings that the particular noun follows. And there are two primary genders in Hebrew, the masculine and the feminine. So two different patterns of endings, what we refer to as the masculine pattern of endings, and then also the feminine pattern of endings. Then two, we also have number, which refers to the number of the noun, singular, which would be one, dual, two, and then plural, three or more. Then we also have state, which refers to the function of the noun in the context. And there are basically, you have the absolute nouns, which is a noun that stands alone or is modifying another noun. And then there is also the construct noun. That is a noun that is being modified by another noun. And so at this particular point, then we went over to the different noun endings, which you can see here, remembering again that those three X's indicate the triliteral root, the three letters that form the word of the Hebrew word here. So masculine, singular, absolute, you just have those three letters. There's no ending attached to it. Then we have the masculine dual absolute, which attaches ayim to it, and then masculine plural absolute, which is im. And I'm not worrying about the construct column at this particular moment, but then coming over to the feminines. So feminine singular absolute, a, feminine dual absolute, ayim or athayim, and then feminine plural absolute, oath. So those are the noun endings. Now what I'd like to do is go over to the Hebrew article, and the Hebrew article is attached to the front of a noun. One thing to bear in mind as we are taking a look at this is remembering that the Hebrew article, unlike English, is just the definite article. So unlike English, which has both a definite, the, and indefinite article, an, Hebrew only has a definite article. Indefiniteness is determined by the context in which the noun appears. The normal form of the article is he, pointed with a pathak, followed by a dagesh forte. And this article is attached to the front of the noun as follows. So we had taken a look at the word sus previously. So here you can see the word sus, horse, and interesting, I don't know why that shifted on me. Okay, so we have sus, then, right. So we have sus, horse, and then he with the pathak, followed by a dagesh forte attached to that to indicate the horse. And then let's say that I wanted to make sus plural, then I would add the im ending to it and add the he article to the front of that. So he with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte. And so thus we would have the horses. Then let's say I wanted to talk about a female horse. So he with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte. So ha, susa, then the mare. And then for the mares, we would have again susoth, he with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte on the front of it. And so ha, susoth, and that would be the mares. Now, Interesting. It is behaving a little bit strangely right now. I'm not quite sure why. But so then we have then if the noun to which the article is attached begins with a guttural, and we talked about those letters earlier, aleph, hey, cheth, ayin. So those are the four gutturals. Or even also resh, which, like the gutturals, is pronounced in the back of the throat. Then the form of the article changes because of the fact that gutturals cannot take a dogish forte. So thus, before the gutturals aleph and ayin, the form of the article is hey pointed with that kamates. And really, okay, let's try this then. Okay, so hey, okay, hey with the kamates. So we have then adam here, human. But then if I wanted to attach the article to the front of this, then that would be hey with the pathak followed by a dogesh forte. But the problem with this is that the dogish forte is in the aleph, which is a guttural. And as a guttural, the aleph cannot take the dogish forte. So as you can see here in this form, the guttural has rejected the dogish forte, and then that results in this last form here, ha'adam, where the preceding vowel, that is the pathak, lengthens to the kamates. And so we have then the final form, ha'adam, which would be the human. Now, notice as well here, before hey and cheth, the form of the article is simply hey with a pathak, no dogish forte. So let's take, for example, the word heikal, that is palace. So if I have here heikal and then I add the article to it, hey with a pathak followed by a dogish forte, well, we've got a problem because of the fact that the dogish forte is inside of the hey, which is a guttural. So the guttural then rejects the dogish forte, but because of the fact that the hey and the cheth are harsh gutturals, the preceding vowel does not lengthen, but something that we call virtual doubling, that is doubling, which occurs in the pronunciation, but is not represented by that dogish forte. It is there, and so we have then the form ha heikal. And then there is another form here as well. So before cheth pointed with a kamates, or also before an unaccented hey pointed with kamates and ayin pointed with kamates, the form of the article is hey pointed with a segol. And so, for example, here we have afar. On this particular word, the accent is on the last syllable. And so, therefore, the ayin pointed with the kamates is unaccented. So when I put the article on it, then hey with a pathak followed by that dogish forte, the dogish forte goes inside of the ayin. And as a result, then the guttural, the ayin here, rejects the dogish forte, and the vowel preceding it, that is that pathak, changes to the segol underneath the influence of that unaccented ayin pointed with the kamates. And so those are the various forms of the article. Now, let's just go ahead and take a look at some examples here, coming over to this particular exercise. So I have here two different words, and again, this is coming from this particular exercise, comes from this book here, A Practical Grammar for Classical Hebrew by Weingreen, which is the textbook that we very frequently use in our elementary Hebrew classes at the seminary. But so I have the word here, melech, which is the idea of king. So melech means king. But then if I wanted to say the king, I would put the article on the front of it. And so we would have then hey with a pathak followed by a dogesh forte. Ha melech. And so that then would be the king. Then also, next section, we have yom. And yom is going to be the word day here. So we have yom, day, but if I wanted to say the day, then I would add hey with the pathak followed by the dagesh forte. And you can see that right there where I just drew my mark. So hey with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte, and that becomes hayom, and this would then be translated as the day. Then if we come on down to the next one here as well, we see that we have Laila. So Laila here, this is going to be night. And then two, if I wanted to say the night, then again, I would put the article on the front of it, hey with a pathak followed by a dagesh forte. And so there is my article, the night. And so we would read this as ha Laila. Then here we come on down to the next one, or. Well, or is the word light in Hebrew, and you can see or here in the next instance, but here is the article. And again, what happened in this instance, I had the word or, and then I put the article on the front of it, so hey with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte. But the issue is here that the dagesh forte is going inside of the aleph, and the aleph is one of our gutturals, aleph, hey, kaf, ayin. And so as a result, then the guttural cannot take the dagesh forte, so it rejects the dagesh forte, and the preceding vowel lengthens to the kamates. And so that's how we got the form here. So haor, this is going to be the word, the light then. Then we also have next the word ear, which is city in Hebrew. But then if I wanted to say the city, I would again add the article to it. So taking the word ear, adding the article, hey with the pathak followed by the dagesh forte. But the ayin, being a guttural, rejects the dagesh forte, and the preceding vowel lengthens as a result. And that is then how we got the form ha'ir. And so this is then the city. Then next, we come on down to this form here, rosh. So rosh, this is the idea of head. But if I wanted to say the head, I would again add the article to it. So if I take the word rosh, so the word rosh, and then I add the article to it, hey with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte. Well, the dagesh forte is now going inside of the resh. And the resh, because of the fact that it is pronounced back here in the throat, it cannot be doubled. And so as a result, it rejects the dagesh forte and the preceding vowel lengthens. And so thus we get the form harosh. And so thus that would be the head. Then next we come to this form here, choshek. And choshek, this is going to be darkness. And remember, this dot here is doing double duty in this instance for both the holum and the dot over the sheen. So they have coalesced in that instance. They've become represented by one dot. So this is choshek, darkness. But then when I put the hey article on the front of it, so hey with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte, again, this is what happens. So we have then the form choshek, and put the article onto it. So hey with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte. But the chayth, being a guttural, rejects the dagesh forte. But in this instance, because of the fact that the chayth is a harsh guttural, the preceding vowel does not lengthen, and so we get the form then ha choshek. And this would be the darkness. Then coming on down, we have Hekal. Hekal is the Hebrew word for palace. And then again, I'm going to put the article on the front of it. So if I take the word Hekal, and I put the article on the front of it, hey with that pathak, followed by the Dagesh forte. The Dagesh forte goes inside of the guttural, Aleph, hey, Cheth, and Ayin. And as a result, then, because of the fact that gutturals cannot be doubled, the guttural rejects that Dagesh forte. But again, the hey is a harsh guttural, and as a result, the preceding vowel does not lengthen. And so here, then, you can see the article on the front of it, and there is, in fact, that method there holding the syllable open just to indicate that that is that a full separate syllable. So ha, Hekal there. And so this then would be the palace. And then we come down next to this form here, afar, and afar is the word for dust. And then I add the article to the front of it, hey with the pathak followed by a Dagesh forte, but the guttural, the ayin here, rejects the Dagesh forte. But because of the fact that this here is that unaccented ayin plus the kamates, as a result, then the vowel underneath the hey changes form to that segel idea. So thus this is the dust. Now, if we come down to this next example here, hayom w halayla. And so notice here again, I have hey with the pathak followed by a Dagesh forte on the word yom, which is day. So the day. And then you can also see Lila here. You can see the article, hey with the pathak followed by a Dagesh forte. And then on the front of this, and we introduced this a couple of weeks ago, that wow pointed with that vocal schwa there, that is the conjunction. So we have then two different parts of speech attached to the front of the noun, the conjunction and the article, the, and then we have the noun itself, night. So thus the day and the night. And we're going to have the same sort of idea here as well. Ha'or w ha choshek. And so notice here, I've got the article again, hey with a pathak followed by a Dagesh forte. The Dagesh forte went inside of the aleph being a guttural, rejected the Dagesh forte, and the preceding vowel lengthened. And so thus we would have here the light. And then you can see we have the word choshek, darkness here. We also have the hey article. And then we also have the conjunction here. So the conjunction and the article, the, and then choshek. Darkness there. So thus we have then the light and the darkness. And so those then are the different forms. It gives us a little bit of an example. And we can see some more here as well. Notice here, melek wa adam. So melek, we can see that's going to be the idea of king. And then also wa adam, here you can see the conjunction. So the conjunction and adam, human. So king and human. But notice what we have here in this instance. Here, with this next bit, hamelek, we no longer have just melek, but we also have the article on the front of it. So the king, and then wa ha'adam. And so there you can see the conjunction. Here as well, you can see the article. And it's taking that form because of the fact that the Dagesh forte was rejected by the guttural. So, and the human. And then we can come on down here next, Adama, Wa'afar. And so Adama, that's going to be the idea of ground. And then Wa'afar, you can see the conjunction right there, and dust. But then here we have Ha'adama. You can see the article right there. So the ground with afar. And so here you can see the conjunction. There's the article on afar. So, and the dust. And then here, number 14, ear, city, Hikal, and so that would be and palace. But then if I wanted to say the city, you can see here is the article. So the city, Hikal. So there's the conjunction, there's the article, and the palace. Okay, so that gives us some experience then in spotting these articles. Now, what I'd like to do is to go on over back into Genesis 1 through 5, and let's see if we can find some articles in that particular text here. Now, reading through the English text, I can definitely see that there would be some definite articles here. So notice in the beginning, so I might anticipate seeing an article there. Actually, when we get to the Hebrew text, we'll see that the article is not there. Is it significant? Yes. And then we have the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. What's interesting is that gets a little bit interesting, but we'll take a look at that. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So in the English text, we can see a good many articles in there, but let's come down to the Hebrew and see what we have. So, Bereshith bara Elohim eth ha-shemayim. Oh, look at that. Hey with a pathak, followed by a Dagesh forte. That looks like one of our articles, and that is, in fact, what this is. So this would be the heaven. And we'll get to that dual ending there. But wa'eth ha'aretz, interesting. That looks like that is another article, and that is in fact what it is. Again, hey with the pathak followed by a Dagesh forte, but the Dagesh forte would have gone inside of the aleph, which is a guttural, and so the guttural rejects the Dagesh forte, and the preceding vowel lengthens. So the earth. Haaretz. Oh, look at that. Conjunction, article. And the earth. Hayitha thohu wavohu. Wachoshek al panei thahom. Waruach Elohim mirachefeth al panei hamayim. Look at that. Hey with the pathak, followed by a Dagesh forte. There's another article there. So this would be the waters. Vayomer Elohim yihi or, vayihi or. Vayar Elohim eth haor. Oh, look at that. There's another one of our articles. So hey with the pathak, followed by a Dagesh forte. But again, the Dagesh forte would have gone inside of the aleph. and the aleph is a guttural, and thus it rejects the dagesh forte and the preceding vowel lengthens. So this then would be the light. Kitov. Then we have Vayavdeo Elohim Bain Haor. Oh, look at that. We just saw that form up above here. So there's another article. Hey with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte, but the dagesh forte went inside of the aleph being a guttural rejects the dagesh forte, and the preceding vowel lengthens. And so then we have the light. Uvein ha choshek. And so notice here, I've got another hey with the pathak. And so that is another one of my articles here. But the dagesh forte of the article would have gone inside of the chayth. The chayth, being a guttural, rejects the dagesh forte. But because the chayth is a harsh guttural, the preceding vowel does not lengthen here. And so thus this would be the darkness. Vayikra Elohim Laor. Now, the interesting thing is, and we will talk about this especially next week, but there is an article here, right there. What has happened in this instance? I have the lameth preposition, to, and then I had the hey article, hey with the pathak, on the word or, and so thus, and the dagesh forte would have gone inside of the aleph. At this point inside of the aleph, that dagesh forte would have been rejected by the aleph, being a guttural. The preceding vowel would therefore lengthen. But once I add the lameth preposition to it, the hey, because of the fact that it is a weak consonant, it has a tendency to drop out. And as a result, then the lameth preposition, the preposition, assumes the pointing of the article. And so that is what we have in that instance. That's how we got the form laor. So this is actually to the light. So there is an article there. So laor yom with la choshek. And you guessed it. You can see the conjunction right there. There's the lameth preposition on the word choshek, but notice the way that the lameth preposition here is pointed. It's pointed with a pathak. And so thus, again, so we had the word choshek, and then I put the article onto it, hey with the pathak followed by a dagesh forte. Well, the dagesh forte is inside of the guttural rejects the dagesh forte, but because of the fact that the chayth is a harsh guttural, the preceding vowel does not lengthen. And then I put the preposition onto it, so thus the hey drops out, and then the lameth assumes the pointing of the article. And so that's how we got that form, wila choshek. And so this would actually be to the darkness. So there is, in fact, an article right there. And then you can see kara laila. Wayihi erev, wayihi voker yom echad. And so no other articles in there. So thus you can see how it is then that we can begin to identify some of the articles within a text. Is it significant knowing if there is an article or not? It is, in fact, and this is one of those things that Brother Sheets talked about a little bit earlier, but in a book, and this is going to be here. So Exodus 17:14, and the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book. And so that is going to be this word here, ba sefer. Except the interesting thing is, you see that beth on the front? That beth is a preposition, just like that lameth that we took a look at. And guess what it does? It does the very same thing. It is normally pointed with a vocal schwa, and when the article is present, will assume the pointing of the article. That's why we have that pathak followed by the dagash forte here. So, ba sefer, in the book. So this is not in a book, but rather this is in the book, indicating that there was a book, a record, a specific record that the Lord intended for Moses to write in, a pre existing record, if you will, which again points to the fact that Adam wrote, and then that record was in fact passed down through time to Moses, who was then adding to that book, even here in the book of Exodus. Okay, is there